The actual crime itself required none of Hollywood's imagination. David would simply empty the vault and deliver the money to the others. The loot would later be divided among David, Kelly, and Steve. David's share would be sent to Mexico, where he planned to hide and where he expected Kelly to join him. David's vision for all of this actually derived more from books than from movies. As a child, he had preferred reading to playing sports, and he would say as an adult that although he couldn't have told you who was on first, he knew as a kid who the Egyptian god of the dead was. As an adult, he preferred Shakespeare, Tom Clancy, and any book he could find about the Federal Bureau of Investigation. In fact, he had recently finished a book about the FBI and felt it provided insight into the agency's investigative techniques, insight he thought could help the little gang succeed. This was several years before the advent of smartphones and the post-9/11 increase in federal surveillance of electronic communications, and public knowledge about this tracking was less widespread. David told Kelly they would have to control themselves and not spend the money too quickly, because the FBI could electronically trace a suspect's recent spending activity through bank papers, credit card records, and land transactions. For the first year after a crime, you told her, they're all over you, with 6 to 10 agents, but after a year they cut it down to 2 agents. After 2 years, the case is just a file. If we can sit on the money for a year, maybe 2, it could work. That was taking the long view. A more immediate need was securing help to move the stolen money to safety the night of the crime. David knew this was important from having followed the recent news about a Florida man who had brazenly committed the biggest heist from an armored car company in United States history, a loner named Philip Noel Johnson, who also had worked for Loomis. Johnson had stolen $18.8 million earlier in the year on March 19, 1997, only to be caught 5 months later in late August while crossing into Texas from Mexico to retrieve some of the money, which he'd hidden in a shed in mountainous western North Carolina. A customs inspector, asking routine questions of bus passengers, focused her attention on him when his answers reminded her of Tommy Flanagan, the pathological liar character played by John Lovitz on Saturday Night Live. Asked the purpose of his visit, Johnson had replied, "To visit friends." The guard asked, "To visit friends?" Johnson said, "Yeah, that's it, to visit friends." In David's eyes, Johnson's big mistake was that he did it alone. Learning from this error, David planned to leave the stolen money behind with his co-conspirators while he fled to Mexico. He would then have the bulk of his share sent south of the border. If it didn't work out, he could return to the United States later with a new identity. David placed their odds of success at 85%, a confidence inspired by faith not just in his planning, but also in his feelings for Kelly. He wanted to leave his wife for her, and Kelly, who also was married, let him think she wanted the same. The stated plan was for her to move to Mexico to be with him after the theft. They hadn't slept together or even fooled around much, but he was ready to commit. Their only intimate physical contact had been kissing on a mid-September night when they had driven her pickup truck to a field behind a shooting range in Gaston County to discuss their plans and the theft's chance of success. At that point, Kelly and David had known each other for 2 years. They had met in December 1995 on one of her first days at Loomis. He had approached her inside the chain-link fence that surrounded the building and said with a flirty smile, "If you give me a cigarette, I'll be your friend." "I don't need any more friends," she'd shot back, "but you can still have a cigarette." David got a kick out of her. They could talk about anything, even topics he couldn't discuss with his wife. NASCAR, four-wheeling, how he felt shorted by life, how he and his wife had trouble communicating, and Kelly thought he was funny. Except for the kiss in the pickup truck a few weeks before the heist, Kelly had kept things platonic. She'd left Loomis in November 1996 to take a job elsewhere as a security guard. Afterward, she and David would talk just occasionally on the phone. Their most important conversation occurred one afternoon in August 1997 after Kelly paged him at work. After discussing his job, his marriage, and his everyday struggles, they joked about Loomis and about how easy it would be to steal from the place. Conversations about stealing from the company weren't rare for Loomis employees. For people earning $8.15 an hour, David's salary, the jokes came naturally. But this time on the phone, Kelly wasn't joking. "Just think about it," she said. "What would it take to make you do it?" Over the next 2 weeks,